Hey, it's Brian back again with another viewer Q&A, and as you guys know, I'm here to help you grow your supplement business, your food brand, by navigating FDA and FTC requirements. And today's question is a good one, and it's very timely, and it asks, could you perhaps make a more detailed video on recall programs where you explain them more in depth and how to carry them out if you are a small startup? Really good question. Like I said, it's very timely. Right now, at the time of filming, we've got ourselves a Kinder chocolate recall for possible salmonella contamination. And what's interesting about this particular recall is that it's expanded as time has gone. So initially when they did the recall, they said maybe, a few units or 10, 15 units, and now it's expanded to over 20 units a couple weeks later. Now, I want to make it clear that I am not involved in this recall whatsoever. I don't have insider insight in any way. I'm not speculating as to what's happening there. I just think it's interesting that they have it and then this topic shows up. Now, let's talk about recalls in general. Typically, let's just say with regards to microbial contamination like salmonella, the salmonella can come from an ingredient, right? It could be inherent in the ingredient and you've brought that ingredient into the facility and then now that's being run on the lines and then that's how you get exposure of that particular pathogen in your product. The other way you can get contamination is maybe it's coming in from the environment, right? It could be from the workers. It could be from the production line itself. Maybe it wasn't cleaned right. It could be a whole host of issues, but those are the two primary sources that contamination can come from. And depending on the root cause issue, it may result in expansion of the recall, or maybe the investigation wasn't done well the first time. And then as they went into their investigation further, they realized that the scope is even larger. So there could be a plethora of reasons as to why a recall could get expanded over time. Now, when it comes to a recall itself and executing one, there are essentially at least five elements that I see when it comes to an effective recall process. And the first one is called traceability. And this is essentially the ability for you to trace where your product has come and gone, right? Where did you ship your finished products to, right? Where did that warehouse ship that product to as well? Can the supply chain trace the source of inventory, where it originated from? So that's the finished goods. And then the other piece of traceability is to trace your raw materials, your ingredients that went into the finished goods. And you really want to make sure that the production system, the manufacturing that's done, is able to track all along the lines from the ingredient all the way down to the finished product and where it ended up. Now, in your case, if you're a small business, you might not have any visibility to where your warehousing or your distributor shipped the product out. That's fine, but you also want to make sure that they've got the capabilities to trace that next step down, right? So it's really important that you have this whole traceability component and capabilities component settled in your particular program. And any problems with this traceability could, as a result, expand the recall. For example, let's just say only one lot of your product was impacted by this salmonella contamination, but because your traceability capabilities are horrendous or that you don't have any, well, you can't isolate to the one lot. And so essentially you have to pull a lot more inventory back. You have to recall more inventory. You have to expand the scope of your recall. The other element when it comes to successfully recalling is investigations, remediation, and of course your execution of those items. If you can't fix the problem, you can't execute on that or find the root cause problem, well, you're just going to, unfortunately, expand your recall further and further out, right? It's going to impact more products only because you can't prove that whatever that contamination or issue or hazard was isn't going to impact other lots, right? Or other products or other formulas. And as a result, if your investigation is poor or the execution of your corrective actions or preventive actions are poor or doesn't provide strong assurance to the government agency, well, they're going to ask you to recall more stuff. So that's why it's really important that you have a thorough investigation plan, that you have the right people who are conducting those investigations, that you're documenting all those, and then that your current program itself is properly documented so that you can prove that those other lots or other products are indeed safe. The third critical element of handling a recall is, of course, managing the government agency. Look, you're going to be working with them directly. All right. They're going to be watching you and checking in on you every day regarding the status of the recall. They're going to ask you for more information about your product, more information about your manufacturer, about your supply chain. They're going to want to know what testing you've done, and they're going to want all these documents, the batch production records, like tomorrow, right? Or yesterday, if you will. Although it's not necessarily a procedure, but I think it's safe to say that you want to know how to manage that relationship. There's no SOP on this, but I think there's two avenues of doing this. One avenue is seeing the government agency as your enemy and hiding this information, or, trying to protect this information and withhold it from them because, we don't trust the government, if you will, or feel that they're overreaching. And the other way of looking at them is seeing them as a cooperative partner and understanding that at the end of the day, consumer safety is their priority as it is yours. And yes, that means opening the books to what you may feel is confidential information, or to your formula, which you probably hold dearly to your heart. But once we understand what the goal of this is, of the recall, then I think it's safe to say that you want to have a really good relationship with them. Once you have a good relationship with the government agency, they're going to give you a little bit of breathing space as a result, which is going to be nice and I'm sure very welcome during the height of a recall, because you're going to be so busy doing all the other things, right? So it's really important here just to highlight, even though it's not necessarily procedural, that it is important to know how to manage that relationship with the government agency, how to speak to them, how to understand the words that they're saying, right? They're going to be talking to you with these regulatory terms, C of A, traceability, recall. It's really important for you to understand what that terminology is. And if you don't, make sure that you bring in someone that can help you with that so that you guys can properly communicate and manage that relationship. The fourth element of handling a recall is what I call the PR element of it all, right? Your consumers are going to want to know what's happening, right? Your customers, your distributors are going to want to know what's happening as well. And you want to get this information out in a timely manner. You don't want to be silent for too long. And you want to make sure that what you are saying is accurate, right? It's truthful, and that people can rely on this information. It's what I call this whole public relations side of the recall. And you want to get information out there. You want to be able to move quickly and keep your consumers feeling safe and still try to maintain that trust that they have in you, in your brand. And this is absolutely important. In the shuffle of it all, when you are executing a recall, things are so busy just trying to manage inventory, manage the government agency, trying to get the test results, collect documents. In some cases, if you're new to this, you forget about the PR element of it and creating good communications so that people can put this on their news articles, on websites, on Twitter feeds, social media, etc. And it's really important that they have the right message, and that message should come from you. You have to stress the importance of having a PR strategy, an element as part of your recall plan. And lastly, the other element that I believe that you need to have is recall preparedness, right? You should have a recall plan that you've practiced, right? And rehearsed and done some drills and executed and tweaked and improved. I think it's really important for small business owners or startups to go through this process, to get a recall procedure together and then actually run through that recall procedure. Simulation, for example, and this is stuff that I do for my clients. And if you are interested in getting an SOP, in doing this type of training, let me know. This is something I do help my clients with. But at the end of the day, my main message for you is that you guys need to be prepared for a recall. And that means going through the fire drill of it all, if you will. So I'm going to leave it there. I know I threw a lot at you with regards to a recall. I can't really go into the specific of the SOP because an SOP is very client specific. It's very company specific, operational specific. And yes, I do have basic templates, but then I work with the clients to build off of that. So it's really tailored to their operation. Really good question today. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there. I will talk to you later. Cheers.